So you've seen the headlines. Startup CEOs are ruthless, evil, and these guys aren't human. These CEOs are out of touch with reality and promote the most toxic hustle culture imaginable. Founders are people who burn through their teams like expendable resources. And I thought the same until I worked directly under one. So most people in their 20s just get a middle manager. I got a front row seat to a multi-million-dollar startup CEO who was directly in charge of me for 3 years. And I saw everything: the chaos, the pressure, the decisions that make or break a company and turn them into a multi-million-dollar one. It wasn't glamorous, and I admit it wasn't easy, but it was the best crash course in leadership, growth, and survival I could have ever imagined. There were moments when I hated it, times when I questioned everything, but in between the chaos, I learned things that most people never get taught in their 20s. And one lesson in particular, it changed how I work, how I look at management, and showed me how I could become a leader to a multi-million-dollar company one day. Stick around, you'll know it when you hear it. Chapter 1. Fail fast or win fast. The CEO mindset. So, like most of us, most people are scared of failure. Founders, they're scared of wasting time. So one of the first things that I learned while working with a CEO was that speed wasn't just something that was nice to have. It was actually everything. They would test ideas like scientists. They want to launch quick, they want to gather feedback, and they want to move on quickly. No second guessing, no polishing endlessly, no waiting around to see if one day it might work. If something didn't work, it was scrapped immediately. And it wasn't because they didn't care or because they didn't understand it. It was because they cared so much that they didn't want these bad ideas to drain more resources. I remember specifically, we spent weeks prepping for a new product feature. We did research, we did design, internal surveys. It went live on a Monday, and I kid you not, by the next Monday, after looking at some of the data and a few customer reactions, it got pulled. As you can imagine, I was stunned, I was angry, and rightfully so. All that work was just thrown out. It didn't make any sense. But here's what I came to understand. Founders have to move fast, not because they're reckless, but because the cost of delaying is higher than the cost of being wrong. They're playing for survival, not perfection, especially when they have board members breathing down their necks, obviously stakeholders. Every bad idea kept alive too long means another opportunity missed. And at the startup stage, time is oxygen. So that experience completely rewired how I think about progress. I used to obsess over making the right decision, waiting until things were perfect before moving forward. But watching this CEO work, I learned that clarity comes from action. Test fast, fail fast. Move, learn, repeat. Even in my own creative work and decisions, I remind myself, staying stuck is worse than getting it wrong. Chapter 2. Ownership is the culture. So a lot of people think that startup life means just doing more. While this is true, I learned that it also means owning more. So what does this mean? It means that great founders don't just give out tasks. They give out accountability. I remember specifically my CEO used to say, don't just take orders like an order taker. Own it like it's yours. We're empowering you to make decisions on your own. You're just as important in the company as anyone else. So I really think he meant that. And if you pitch an idea, you better be able to run with it. If you spotted a problem, you weren't waiting for permission. You were just solving it. There was no, that's not my role, that's not my job description. There was no hiding behind job titles. Everyone was responsible for the outcomes, not just their task list. I still remember being handed a major projects that honestly I was probably underqualified for. No roadmap, no safety net, just a blank document and full trust. And at first I panicked, but then I realized that they believed I could grow into it before I did. And that kind of changed everything. This ownership being part of the work culture, it was a mindset that I could really embrace. And I grew faster than I would have ever grown in a normal job. And here's the truth. Founders, CEOs, they operate a lot on belief, not just in what already exists, but in what could exist if we just figured it out. And I saw this every day. I still remember we'd have meetings, they'd walk in the room and point at a challenge and they'd say, yeah, we'll figure this out. And even when I didn't fully believe in it, they did. And that belief, it rubbed off. I started approaching problems much differently. Instead of thinking, I've never done this before, I started thinking, what can I do to figure this out? So I believe that's the big turning point for me, when I stopped waiting to be ready and I started acting like someone who could rise to the challenge, because I've seen it done so many times up close. And it taught me something that I've carried over in my entire life. If you want next level growth, act like a founder, not just a follower, not just an order taker. Chapter 3. Founders are human too. So the stereotype is everywhere that startup founders are robotic, cold, obsessed with their company, and don't care about anything else. And we all know that joke that Mark Zuckerberg is actually a robot. And honestly, I kind of believed it too. When I joined this role in a startup, I expected long hours, short tempers, and serious pressure. But then I actually worked for one. And what I saw really surprised me. The CEO I worked with, they cared, and they cared a lot. They didn't just care about work output and the number of hours we put in, but they actually genuinely cared about the people in the company. I saw them stay up late at night to fix things, not because someone told them to, but because they didn't want to let the team down. And in their family, I saw that they paused investor meetings, they took time off just so that they could spend time with their family. They stopped mid-sprint to ask someone, how they were doing, and really actually felt like they really cared. And I'll be honest, that kind of leadership changed what I thought ambition could look like. Because before I got this job, I thought being ambitious meant choosing between people and progress. But as I watched this founder live both with the messiness in between, they weren't perfect. They got things wrong, but they showed something that I didn't expect. They showed that caring wasn't a weakness. It was a leadership advantage that everyone in the company really appreciated. And slowly, it shifted how I showed up too. I wanted to be more of a team player. I started asking better questions and just being present with the team. And all this time, I reminded myself that they have so much on their plate and they're not ruthless. I don't need to be ruthless to build something great. So, working with a multi-million-dollar CEO startup for 3 years wasn't easy. It was intense, demanding, and sometimes very chaotic. But it taught me how to think, how to lead, and how to take responsibility really quickly. So if you're in your 20s and you learned something from this video, let me know. It's very rare that you get to work with somebody so high level in your 20s. If it's helped or resonated with you, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. What is the biggest thing you've learned from your job?